You can kill the music now. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Apologize for being a little bit late, but it's all good. We thank y'all for being here this morning, and I've been looking forward to this, and I'm glad y'all took the time to come out on Saturday morning and to this session. But I assure you, it is not a waste of your time. It'll be a good time, and so it's not quite as many as I thought would be here. So we should have good time for Q&A and all of that. So let's all stand. We're going to pray very quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chauncey, and we'll go from there. There are refreshments in the back. I am going to raid them in just a moment, but you feel free to go get some water or juice or snacks or whatever at any time, all right? All right, let's pray. We're going to get it. Father, in Jesus' name, we just thank you for the opportunity that we have been afforded today and having Chauncey to come and speak to us. We thank you for the knowledge that we've received. We thank you for a great time, great Q&A, and just a great session this morning. We thank you for that you even would pour into us from Chauncey today. We honor you and thank you for all these things. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, y'all ready? Come on, let's give a good hand and welcome Chauncey Mayfield.
Thank you. I want to thank you as well for coming out this early in the morning on a Saturday morning, on a cold Saturday morning. Trust me, it is cold to me. I live in South Florida, so anything below 70 is like freezing. So one of the things I talk about a lot, and I talk specifically to groups like this, and that is I talk a lot about business, and I talk about how to become a successful business, and how to start and maintain a business. But all of my businesses, with the exception of a few, have been in the real estate business, in the real estate industry. And I stick to what I know. I stay in my lane. I don't try to do anything that's particularly technology driven. I know real estate cold. And it doesn't matter on what level, whether it's a residential side, the commercial side, it really doesn't matter. On the investment side, the banking side, I've either done it, I have done every facet of the real estate business, from the finance side, from the investment side, from the development side. So today we're going to be talking about a couple of different things, starting off with some general business principles that I've learned over time that help to make a business successful. And I got to tell you, one of my biggest frustrations, because I'm a huge supporter of Black-owned businesses, one of my biggest frustrations is to watch how Black businesses have a product that they can sell, and that's important, but they just run it right in the ground by poor performance, poor delivery. I was in Savannah, Georgia last Sunday, and I was giving the speech I'm going to give tomorrow in Savannah, and we all went out to the seafood restaurant. I love seafood, and it was Black-owned. It was a disaster, and it was one of the situations where I said I would never come back here again, ever. And it's one of the things that, and everything going on in this business can be fixed before tomorrow morning, but it would just run so poorly. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that you need to do when you go into business, what you be conscious of when you're in business. And I don't care what you're doing, it's a business. My former wife is a physician, and I would sit with her oftentimes and say, this patient hadn't paid you, this patient hadn't paid you, this patient hadn't paid you. She said, well, it's not a business. I said, okay. Watch when you go out of it, you're going to appreciate the fact it's a business. In order to stay in business, they got to pay you. Well, today I'm like her de facto CFO, and I still say, you got to pay this, you got to pay this, you don't have to pay that. These people need to pay you. The insurance need to pay you. And now she appreciates the fact it's a business. And I don't care if it's a church. It's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. I have a daughter my youngest daughter is in graduate school at Harvard. And she will be here tomorrow. And she said, Dad, I can take classes from the law school. I can take classes from the School of Divinity. But when I go to the business school, they want $200 extra. I said, it's a business school. They use every opportunity they can to make money. And you're just part of that opportunity. So with that, let me ask you, how many of you are in business today? Okay. How many of you want to go into business? Would you classify your business as successful? Nobody? Okay. What measure are you using to determine whether it's successful or not? Money? People know it? Lying out the door? What measure are you using? Profits? Okay. You haven't met your goals. So, if you go out today to play a football game or you're a football player, there are already rules established in the game. Now, if you're going to play the game, you're going to abide by the rules. That's the general rule of the game. Same thing with basketball. If you drive your car, there's certain things you're going to do that are rules of the game. But let's take football, for example. So if you go to the New England Patriots, they have what's called a corporate culture. It's the way they do business. It's the way they play the game. It's the same thing applies in business. You've got to establish a corporate culture in order to be successful in business. And if you're just sort of showing up and today you do it this way, today you do it that way, you don't have a corporate culture. And so the first things I want to talk with you about is establishing a corporate culture. And I've started 6 businesses. I have driven 2 of them so far in the ground, you can't even find them anymore. They went up and they went down. And then I had 2 more that were, they were steady. They gave me a decent living. And then I established 2 that just knocked it out of the park. They're incredibly successful. They were so successful, it was scary. So, and what I learned along the way is that here's some things I did in business, in the first business to the last business that worked. Here's some things I will never do again. And so let's talk about what you should do. And it's something that for every business I start, and I'm working on starting, 1 or 2 more, these principles apply. And I would encourage you to apply the same principles because they're simple. And if I could take that little seafood restaurant I went to last Sunday, sit down with that guy and said, here's what you need to understand, guy. Because everybody walking out of the restaurant that day said, you know what, food was okay. It wasn't good enough for me to come back. But the food wasn't the issue. It was a bunch of other stuff that was the issue. Because I believe that the guy could fix the food, but he could fix everything in the restaurant if he just cared enough to make a difference. So let's talk about it. And let's go to the next slide. And we're going to talk about the success in business. Slide lady over there. Okay, there she is. The first thing you need to understand is that your business and you have to be excellent. My dad, who was a civil rights lawyer, used to say, I can pass every legislation in the world to get you in there. But nobody's going to keep you unless you're excellent. And excellence starts with the small stuff. Excellence don't start with big stuff. Let me tell you, my last company, which was incredibly successful, one of the requirements, and it's about being excellent, you had to answer the phone on the 3rd ring. You know why? Because businesses that look like you and me, typically you call there, they open at 9, it's 9:15, the phone rings, nobody answers the phone. So you don't know if it's open or closed. It starts with answering the phone consistently every single time by the 3rd ring. An investor I did business with was talking to another investor, and one investor said, I called Chauncey's shop and nobody answered the phone. He said, you didn't call Chauncey's shop. I'm telling you. let's go we got to pull out his cell phone. Let me call him right now. He called them then, and we answered on the third ring. He said they always answer on the third ring. The second thing is, everything coming out of your shop has got to be typed. Don't handwrite an envelope and send it to me, because I'm going to get it out of my bail bonds, look at it and say, they playing, and I'll put it there, and maybe next week I might read it. Because serious people send me stuff. I had 8 offices. In order for you to send an envelope from office number 1 to office number 8, it had to be typed. It's a habit. Excellence starts with the small stuff. And don't you ever sit out anything with my company name on it unless it's typed. Remember, excellence starts with the small stuff. Because when you get in the habit of doing the small stuff well, the big stuff becomes easy. Piece of cake. Ain't no big deal. And and if you look at every major company, I don't care if you're talking about McDonald's or Four Seasons or whomever, they do the same things consistently, and they do it well. The little things. I guarantee you, that scooper that gives you French fries at McDonald's is designed to give you the same number of French fries every single time. And they know if a franchisee is selling French fries, and he got this bucket, this number of bags of French fries, this is how much is coming out on the other side. It's the excellence of doing that over and over and over again. And when you do that, it prevents your people from having to think about a lot of stuff. Well, I got to send this to Bob. You know what? I'm just going to write it on the envelope and send it out to Bob. You better not. And as the owner, your responsibility is to check the checker. You tell your number 2 person, hey, make sure that they order 100 cases of water. Okay. What you've got to be able to do is go and check to make sure that, don't leave it. Well, I told Bob don't own nothing. You do. Check the checker to make sure they're doing it the way you want it done. Excellence starts with the small stuff, over and over and over again. It's the way you present yourself as an owner to your employees that let them determine if this business is serious. Is this just a job on my way to the next job? I tell my employees all the time, this is the only way I have to feed my family. I am serious about it. You come in here like you come to work. Don't come in here looking like you going to the club. I expect a good day's work, and I'll make sure you get a good day's pay. I will give you everything I can to make sure you have a job next week. Because if I go, the company goes. I have a responsibility to you, but you have a responsibility to me too. And that's where we start with the excellence. The next slide, please. Consistency, repetition equals success. One time, and I'm not trying to impress you, I checked into the Four Seasons Hotel in Washington, D.C. And the woman behind the counter said to me, she said, Mr. Mayfield, welcome back. Your room is ready. You're on the 2nd floor, overlooking, just the way you want it. But right now, the maid service is cleaning up the room. Go down to the cafeteria. Go down to the restaurant and have breakfast on us. I went down to the restaurant and sat there. And this black waitress walks over to me and she said, Mr. Mayfield, welcome back. I said, I've never seen you in my life. Welcome back? I said, first, how you even know my name? And she smiled and she said, in the kitchen, when you checked in, there's a big board and it flashes your name and your picture. We know who you are. And so when we come out, we call you by your first name. You imagine how good it feels to be called by your first name? In some place, I've been there before. I ain't never seen her before. Welcome back. How you know I've been here before? Because it's the amount of consistency. They do that to every single client. And so, repetition, you do it over and over and over again. It doesn't become a strain, it becomes a habit. Every big company in this country does that. If you go to General Motors and your car's been damaged, It said, Mr. Jones, while you're here, I know you bought the car in 1942, but while you're here, you want us to go over it again? We check everything. And because A, they get business out of it. B, it's a consistency. It's a repetition that they do it with. And when you start a business, make sure, remember, excellence starts with the small things, and you got to do the same thing over and over and over again. Did y'all come to church last week and Pastor changed up the service on you? No. Y'all got here 45 minutes late because you know that the preaching starts 45 minutes into the service, because he does it the same way over and over and over again. Okay? And so it's the same thing whether it's in church, or you go to McDonald's, you go to Burger King, or you go to the Four Seasons. It's the consistency and the repetition of doing it. And that means success. And so, next slide. Where's my slide lady? She done gone. Oh, she back there. Okay. One of the things that I'm passionate about, and I'm going to talk to the kids today at 2 o'clock, is that, Josiah, if you play football and the other team's on the other side, you in the locker room, do you ever tell your teammates, I don't believe we can win? I don't think we can win. We're going to lose. You ever said that to them? No. It's the same thing in business. You've got to believe in yourself and the product. When you go down that journey to start your business, you've got to believe in you. You've got to believe. You've got to believe you have everything you need to be successful. And you've got to believe in that product that you're selling to people and taking their money from them. I used to, when I started my investment company, I used to put on, I had 2 cars, and on the back of my cars, the license plate read, believe number 1, believe number 2. And my motto in my company was everywhere was, you got to believe. We were little guys. And we went after our first big project, and a young man who worked for me came in, and he said, oh boy, you know who's going to be in the competition? I said, I have no idea. He said, this company, man, we can't win. We're putting in all this work. Same thing if he was on the football team and he's sitting in the locker room going, we can't win. They bigger than us. He said, man, we can't win. And I kept saying to him, you got to believe we can win. We can win. You don't believe it, just go to Hebrews 11:1. Help you figure it out. So you got to walk into the game, and business is a game. And a game believing in your product and believing in yourself. That big project we went after, we killed the competition. Killed them. The day we got awarded the project, I fired that dude. Because he didn't believe. I don't want anybody on the team that don't believe in the team. And so one of the biggest concerns I have oftentimes, and particularly with young people, is that they don't believe in themselves. They don't look at you. They have no confidence. When they show up, I got to tell you, you will meet my daughter tomorrow. I have 5 kids. And I'm not bragging, but my kids are beasts. My kids will tell you in a minute, you're lucky to have me here. Talking about not lucky to be here. You're lucky to have me. I deserve to be here because I am good. I'm better than anybody in here. And you've got to walk into your business and walk into the environment, and particularly these young kids going into these Ivy League schools. I went into Ivy League schools. Let me tell you something. These kids will eat you alive. I sat there my first day at Harvard. Boy next to me said, where you went to school? I said, I went to Tuskegee. He said, what's that? Oh, okay, a little deficient on black history, but let me school you. I told him. And he said, I ain't never heard of that place. I said, that's okay. His name was David Gold. I'll never forget him. He said, are you an admissions mistake? And that's what they tell black kids. The admissions department made a mistake. That's how you got in. I said, David, let me tell you something, dude. We start today. We end 2 years from today. I promise you I'll be there. I don't know if you're going to be there. I'm going to walk across that stage. I deserve to be here. And that's what I'm saying. In the work environment, unfortunately, They will rip you apart and they'll rip your kids apart. At doing private equity on the highest level of real estate investment in this country, oftentimes I show up and they go, can't be. Mm-mm. What's your name? My name's Chauncey Mayfield. Oh, it is you. Okay. How did you get here? Because I'm very good at what I do. I'm exceptionally good at what I do. And that's the thing you got to believe. Because when you go out here, whether it's basic competition, racism, you call it anything you want, you will get ripped apart. Your confidence will be ripped out of your body. I started my company. I went to every bank in the state of Michigan asking them to lend me $3 million. They didn't even bother to look at my financial line. Get out of here. Get out of here. And a banker, he happened to be black, told me one time, he said, you know, I don't know if you're ever going to get this little company off the ground. Okay. But you know what? I believe in it, and I'm going to keep on looking. And I found the first bank that would give me any money in Charlotte, North Carolina, Wachovia Bank. At one point, we were the biggest minority borrowers of Wachovia Bank. And I'm going through the airport one day, and that same idiot banker said, man, I hear you have blown up. I said, well, not really. We just crossed $1 billion, but we still growing. We ain't big enough for you. Man, we'd like to come in and talk to you. No, you don't. No, you don't need to talk to me now. Because we believed in what we were doing. We believed in us. Think about it. You get up in the morning in the mirror, and if you don't believe in you, who will? And if you don't love you, who will? I mean, I don't get it. It's just common sense. And we've got to teach our kids that regardless of what you do, you are black and beautiful. And you are bad. All the way bad. And I got to tell you, you know, I preach that to my children. My children don't defer to nobody. And I'm going to tell y'all something down south that I don't like. They ain't got, don't hate me for this. I don't do yes ma'am and no ma'am, and I tell my kids, don't you ever say that to anybody. Just me. And I grew up in the South. And then the reason I say that is because I don't want them to do anything that appears, it may not be, subservient to somebody. And, you know, I can't wait for y'all to meet. I thought you were going to be here today. My youngest daughter, she told a professor, he said his class was full. She said, that's ridiculous. It's not. How can it be full and it's just opened up? She said, you know what? Here's my cell phone. Text me when you're ready to let me in your class. I said, baby, you told him that? She said, please, Daddy, I told him that. She said, hold on. It's 7 o'clock in the evening. She said, hold on, Daddy. Yeah, he just texted me. I'm in his class. And you know, I've got friends who come up when I lived in Boston, and they said, Boston people are so rude. They're just so aggressive and rude. I said, that's who they are. They're direct, aggressive, and rude. And you need to learn to be aggressive, direct, and rude. And what I mean is not be mean, but be direct. I don't like what you just did to me. I'll tell you that. And so, in order to do that, you got to believe in here. And I don't want to beat this to death, but you got to believe in you. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how many degrees you have. If you don't believe, go back and look at the videos of Muhammad Ali. I'm the greatest. My mother used to turn him on the radio when I was a young kid because I loved listening to boxing. And my mother said, oh, he's so cocky. No, he's confident. He said, I'm the greatest. And he turned out to be the greatest because he believed in him when they said, hey, young man, you going to fight that guy Sonny Liston over there? Look at that dude. I think he's going to kill you. He said, no, you're not. I'm the greatest. I am the greatest. I used to teach my kids when they were younger. I said, you get up every morning and look in the mirror and say, I'm the best. I am the best. And when you have that confidence, and I want to harp on this point because I grew up in the South, I went to school in the South, and then I took off to the Northeast in Boston. Oh, Lord. Nobody was holding no tongues, and nobody was saying yes sir, no ma'am to me. And they're like, why you here? Because the company hired me. All right, well, we'll be getting rid of you shortly. What? But I didn't believe I needed to be there. But when it flipped, I'm like, wait a minute. I deserve to be here. I deserve to walk into any institution in this country. Not because I am who I am, because I'm good at what I do. I'm very good at what I do. And I make no apologies about it. So, if you want to know some more on that sermon, call me. Next slide. The thing that's really troubling for me, for a lot of entrepreneurs, they say they know their product, they don't have a clue about their product. I don't care if it's a restaurant. I don't care if they're selling shirts. I don't care if they're, if they're making toilet paper. You've got to know your product better than anybody else. Sir, why should I buy your product and not that product? Man, brother, man, we brothers. And what in the world has that got to do with anything in the world? No. You tell me about your product. You tell me your product's better. You tell me you're a better salesman. You provide better service. Give me a reason to buy your product. You've got to know it. And so, as we build companies, as I start companies, I start with every one of these principles. I got to know my product. Okay, what's your product? I'm doing an investment. Okay, how's your investment deal better than the other guy? When we started out, everybody was investing in real estate. The big boys were. What makes you different? Because I invested in 8 states, and they all looked alike. The demographics of Miami, Florida was very similar to the demographics of Detroit, Michigan. Most people didn't realize that. The demographics of Charlotte, North Carolina is very similar to the demographics of Boston, Massachusetts. 600,000 to 700,000 people. The demographics of Washington, D.C. and the demographics of Boston, Massachusetts are almost identical. And they were grow-up cities. We only invested in grow-up cities. What's a grow-up city? Between 9 to 5. No, after 5, those cities are about 600,000 to 700,000 people. Between 9 to 5, they grow up to almost 5 million people, because Washington, D.C. proper, the people that work in D.C. come from the suburban areas. And it grows up to 5 million people. So I get 5 million people from 9 to 5. In Boston and in D.C., same thing. So if I knew what D.C. looked like, it was easily transferable to Boston. Remember? Consistency, repetition. So every city we invested in looked alike. They were different parts of the country, but in terms of demographics, number of people, in terms of the per capita income of those places, they all looked alike. So we knew what to expect when we walked in. They said, well, Chauncey, come invest in New York City. Oh, no. Oh, no. That's a 100-pound gorilla. I don't want that. That's bigger than I'm used to. It's much too difficult to navigate, much more difficult to get our arms around. Why don't you invest? My mother was here in Greenville, South Carolina for a very long time. She since moved. And, I came here. My mother said, oh, son, you need to invest in Greenville. I'm like, oh, Lord, my mother's in the investment business now. And let me take you downtown. And I was impressed. I was really impressed. But at the time, Greenville was much too small for us to get involved with. And I gave, I said, here's what we have to look at. We look at Greenville. And Greenville was called a tertiary market. It was small and it was smaller. And we only invested in markets that were 600,000 to 700,000 people doing, after 5, and grew up to about 5 million people during the day. And Greenville didn't fit that description. We knew what our product looked like. Know your product. Always know your product. And know it better than your competition. Inside and out. You need to know where it was made, because you selling me T-shirts, and I was like, I love your T-shirts. I'd probably buy a couple hundred from you. But I don't like the fact that it's made in China. You know it's made in? I didn't know it was made in China. Hold on, let me look at that tag myself. Well, how are you going to sell me something you don't know about? Come on. Next slide, please. You mentioned earlier that your business was not meeting your goals. But when you start your business, or look to start your business coming out of the pot one day, you've got to put down, you got to be clear, and you got to write down your goals and objectives. You know, one guy asked me a long, long time ago, do you have goals and objectives, or are you just relying on luck? I open the door and they show up. Uh-oh. No, I got a clear goal. Every January, whether it's my personal life or my business, I write down my goals for this year. This is what I want to do. And your goals don't have to be difficult. Your personal goals don't have to be, I'm going to get my teeth cleaned 3 times this year. That's a goal. It's that simple. But in business, it better be clear. And you got to have goals. My goal is to open my doors this year. First half of the year. Second half of the year, my goal is to attract 1,000 new customers. Because that's what, and if you read that every morning to remind yourself, you will be on the road to completing your goals. But you can't start a business and say, well, you know, I don't know, man. I might have 5 customers this year. I might have 3. If you look at your goals and keep evaluating yourself, you know that, okay, it's half the year and we haven't seen 1 customer. We got a problem. And you adjust your product, you adjust your goals. It's just that simple. They got to be clear. And they should be simple. This is not complicated. Just be clear and say, all right. You know, and then the question becomes, how long? You said your business hadn't been meeting your goals. How long will you continue along this road with your business not meeting your goals? Because if you're not meeting your goals, you got to ask yourself, what do I need to do differently? You know, I used to consult to a bank, and they brought me in, and they have all these troubled companies and troubled real estate deals. And I used to go in, talk to the company owner, and say, what's your goal? Man, I'm just trying to survive. You think that's a goal? Are you serious? Okay, I got that. We're all trying to survive. Let me ask you this. Why are you trying to survive? Are you trying to live to tomorrow too? Yeah. Oh, really? I think we're all trying to do that, right? So what is your goal for your business? Forget about you right now. What is the goal? And it applies across industry, doesn't matter. What is the goal for the church? We're going to feed X number of people. We're going to go out and bring in X number of people. You got to be clear. And you say, well, I'm going to bring in 24 people in 2020. That's 2 people a month. Break it down. And next month come and you haven't brought any people, you're going to be a little off. You got to bring in more. So the objective here is just be clear. This ain't complicated. This is basic stuff. And here's where business people get into trouble. They think all this stuff is complicated and they want to be important and they want to think that, you know, I got to have this, I got to have that. No, you don't. If you follow these 10 principles, I promise you, your life will be a lot better. We're proven, you know, because I said 6 companies. 2 of them I grew, it was flying and I was impressed it was flying. The next thing you know, somebody clipped the wings and went right into the ground. And I'm like, uh-oh. And guess what? I learned more trying to save that company falling out of the sky than I did when it was going up. I believe that it must be me. This company is successful because it must be me. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because when it started to come down, it showed me all the things this company needs that I didn't have. And you do that a couple of times, trust me, it'll make a believer out of you. You know, go home and tell the missus, hey, baby, how much you owe on your car next month? Same thing for last month. Oh, how much we owe on the mortgage? It was the same mortgage payment. We ain't got it. Uh-oh. Now, if you don't believe, she going to make a believer out of you. Or he's going to make a believer out of you. And that's when it gets real. Been there. Done that. You know, so when it takes off, you're always cautious. You know, you're looking like, okay, we made a lot of money today. Is somebody going to come ask me for it? No, we did it right this time. We had a plan. And I'm not talking about a business plan. See, there's a misconception. I think it's ridiculous. Every time you walk into someone, they said, you got a business plan? Oh, please. There's only a couple of reasons people write business plans. To get money or to refinance their business. That was the only reason. Think about it. If I wasn't going to give you any money, you are not motivated to write a business plan. So if you're not looking for money, you got all the money in your pocket and you're going to start this business, at least have a clear objective. Here's what we're trying to do. It's simple. It's simple. When I leave here, I'm going to South Florida. I'm going to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I pass Jacksonville. No, I'm not stopping there because I'm clear about where I'm going. And that's the thing I encourage you to do. Be clear about where you're going. Okay? Next slide, lady. So this is one that I tell people all the time, don't get it confused. If you are so delusional to believe that racism doesn't exist, you are in trouble. Racism exists for a whole host of reasons. And one may be, I'll give you an example. When I finished business school, I was running around, I was jogging at the time, and I was jogging with a dear friend of mine, a white guy. We were going around the Charles River, and he said, Chauncey, when you finish business school, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. The first thing I do, the only thing I know I'm going to do, I'm going to get out of Boston. And he stopped, and I'm still, what's wrong? He said, what's wrong with Boston? I said, John, Boston is the most racist city I've ever been in my life. He said, that's not true. I said, you've never been black. And so he said, if you believe that, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce you to 20 people in this city, business people. That's fine. You should hurry up because come May, I'm gone. And he did. And what every person told me, you can argue with what they said, but they felt that way. He said, I would love to get to know somebody like you, but I don't know where to go to do that. What? He said, what do you want to do here? I said, I want to do real estate. How can I help you? This dude ain't racist. He just don't know where to find people like me. He's not going to cross. People like me, we're not at the country club. And that's what I call benevolent racism, as opposed to the hatred of racism. It's different. But whatever it is, your objective, when you have clear goals and objectives, I don't care what they think of me. I got to get over here. Always remember that. You've got to, I did a deal once in what's called the South Shore of Boston. And I'm talking to this guy on the phone, and we're going back and forth. I go down to buy this office building, or at least to make an offer on it. Get out of the car. He's standing at the door looking at me. And he's like, ooh. I walk up to him, introduce myself. First words out of his mouth was, oh, my God, I never knew you were black. Okay. Now, I could have become offended by that. That's not my goal. My goal is to buy and own that office building. It's the only goal I have in mind. And the only thing I said is I hope I don't disappoint you. And we're friends today. He just never have. It's okay. And it's the business of race. The very first property I ever bought in my life, I was up in Boston. And Boston has a real thing about race. And I called this guy. He was going to inspect the property for me. And he said, Chauncey, who are you buying the property from? I said, well, this guy. He said, what ethnicity? Hey, I'm from Savannah, Georgia. People come in black and white. That's it. He said, no, you need to know the ethnicity. I'm like, why? He said, you go back and find out. I went back, found out. They were Irish. I said, they're Irish. Okay, now we know what we're dealing with. What? But it's the business of race, and it's real. It is very, very real. I tried to buy an office building in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we're going back and forth. We win the bid. My company wins the bid. And then they call us up and said, Mr. Mayfield, we got a question for you. Okay. Did you graduate from a historically black college? Yeah, I did. Okay, we don't have any more questions. Like, what? Called me back a few days later and said, we are not selling you the office building. I was like, oh boy. And I said, why not? He said, well, the tenants in the building won't be comfortable with you. I said, let me tell you something, because I'm confused. If you sell me a building, those tenants become my tenants, right? So I don't care if they're comfortable or uncomfortable. No, we're not going to sell you the building. That was our very first acquisition, attempted acquisition as a company. We were just floored. Our second attempt was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my partner who's my investment guy, said, man, we got an office building in Charlotte, North Carolina. I said, no, I ain't going to Charlotte. He grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I said, Emery, you grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. My parents are from Greenville, South Carolina. You realize that Charlotte ain't that far from St. Petersburg, Florida. I ain't going down there. No, come on, man, come on. So what we decided to do, we took down our website. We tried to get everything we could off the web. And we went to Charlotte. And we walked around. We did not tell them we were interested in buying the building. We went in the building and said, can you show us the air conditioning system? The guy's like, on the roof? Yeah. Now, as a tenant, you don't care. But as an owner, you care. Well, why you want to know that if you're a tenant? Well, I'm just curious. We got some sensitive documents we keep. Okay. We go up there, we look around. And then, when it came time to bid on the building, we bid. And we were the winner. And then the broker who was selling the building said, well, we really want to know, who do you know in Charlotte? Well, I got to know somebody in Charlotte to buy a building in Charlotte. And my general counsel, who's just absolutely brilliant, said, tell them we don't disclose that information. Call them. We don't disclose that information. And so at the end of the day, we bought the building. But there was a management company in the building. We called them up and said, why don't y'all stay and keep managing? Well, you going to come down and meet with it? Yeah, we'll be there soon. 2 years later, we showed up. Yeah. I took my daughter to Spelman College. And I was sitting over there, and I'm watching all these beautiful black kids at Morehouse and Spelman. I said, wow, they need to see a role model that does what I do. Call up my partner. I said, man, call them people in Charlotte and let them know I'm coming to meet them. This is what I actually said. I said, let them know the new master's about to show up. It's true. It's a true story. So they said, meet me in front of the building at 2 o'clock. I drive from Atlanta to Charlotte. And at 1:55, I'm standing in front of the building. I got my best suit on, my best tie, my best shirt. It is in August. It is hotter than hot. And I'm sweating like a beast. And a young white guy comes out of the building. I'm standing in front of the building. And he look at me. He walks to the corner. And he looks back at me. And he's looking down the corner like, you got to be around here somewhere. And then this is an honest guy, true story. Comes back to me and he said, excuse me, sir, you been here long? I said, about 5 minutes. He said, anybody else been here? I said, no, have you? I said, you looking for somebody? He said, you wouldn't know him. I said, ask me. I may know some people. He said, okay, I'm looking for Chauncey Mayfield. I said, that's me. He said, oh, no. He said, hold on, right there. Don't move. Don't run. He goes from the front of my building to the curb, and he takes out his phone, and he's calling the boss, and he's looking back at me like I'm a run. Puts his phone back. This is an honest guy, true story. He goes back, comes back to me. He said, my boss is coming down. Okay. Your boss worked for me, too. And so we stand in front of the building, and I was going to say his name. I'm not going to say his name. So he comes in, he looks at me. He said, you by yourself? Anybody else join us, like your partner? I don't have a white partner. So don't get carried away, and he ain't showing up. Okay. You the guy I've been talking to on the phone. Yeah. Okay. So come on in. Well, thank you for letting me in my own building. So we go in, we talked for about an hour, and he said, you want me to show you downstairs? I'm just going downstairs. I get on the elevator, I go downstairs. And my daddy's always told me, you talk to the least of these. And I go over and introduce myself to the guard, the security guard. He's starched up, he's ready, a black man, an older black man. And I said, excuse me, sir, I just want to say hello to you. And he said, oh, no, hold on now. Yesterday, my boss man told me, today at 2 o'clock, the owner's coming. And at 2:05, I looked at the clock. You came through them doors with my boss, man. I said, yeah. You wouldn't be the owner, would you? I am. He said, oh, Lord, wait till I go home and tell my wife. It's honestly got a true story. So my point in saying that, is really it's the business of race. I don't know what they expected. I didn't even care. But we don't do business differently. We do business because we're excellent at what we do. And if you are hung up on my race, I don't even care. We can still be friends. But it's not going to get me away from my objective of owning that building. And that's the way we have to look at it. Unfortunately, we as a people get tied up in this emotional garbage. You don't like me because I'm black. That's probably true. But why do you care? Your mama still like you. You don't even know them people. Why are you worried about them liking you? I don't care. I've got one objective. I'm going to own it. And whatever you do with it, I don't even care. And so oftentimes, I never get, I've been in some crazy situations. And I just said, that's life. But I'm about to change life. For you, at least. And so I encourage you to think about not go into business believing that somebody's going to treat you poorly, because oftentimes that's not the objective. The objective is to keep you from coming into the club. Do you remember when Wells Fargo bought Wachovia? And then Wells Fargo decided they were going to invite to Charlotte all of their largest borrowers. Oops, we happen to be one. And we go to Charlotte, and I'm standing there with the head of real estate for Wells Fargo, the new main man. And he says, how many affordable housing deals you've done? You know why he asked me that? Because black developers only do affordable housing. And I said, I've never done an affordable housing deal. I said, that's not true. I did one in the early 80s in Boston. Oh, what do you do if you don't do affordable housing? I said, aren't you from Northern California? He said, yeah. I said, you probably know one of our projects at least. And I said, you ever been to Dublin, California? Oh, yeah, I live in Dublin, California. Good, because this is going to be the best story you ever heard. I said, hey, look, you know the biggest shopping mall in Dublin, California, like right in downtown? Oh, yeah. That's me. He said, oh, no. Oh, yeah. I said, we own the biggest shopping center in Dublin, California. You do? Yeah. And guess what? We're going to be customers. I'm your new customer. Wells Fargo, I know you didn't expect me to come to dinner, but I'm here. I don't care what you think. I still own it. You still got to drive by it. Your wife got to still shop there at Target. Get over it, dude. And because I refuse to let that kind of stuff get in my way. And I would encourage each and every one of you to think that way. That's petty. Let's move on. Let's keep going. Because if you get tied up in that mess, I can't tell you where it's going to end up. If you get violent, you know where you're going to end up. If you get crazy, they're going to bar you from doing it, but coming back. That is not your objective. Just keep up. You got your goal. You got your objective. I know why I'm here, and I'm going. Next slide, please. Here is my absolute frustration with businesses, particularly minority, black-owned businesses. They want to come in and they want to start a popcorn stand. Please. I tell people, you ain't going to make enough money to call home to mama about. In fact, you're going to make so little money, you're going to be living with mama. Go big or go home. You've got to think big. My first deal, I thought it was a big deal. I went to an investment advisor to a major pension fund, and I said, Steve, I'm going to go to them, because he had to approve it. I'm going to go to them and ask them for $10 million to invest in my deal. He just shook his head. I said, what's wrong? Don't bother. What do you mean, don't bother? He said, Chauncey, If they don't like you, they'll give you $10 million. Okay. Well, how much should I ask them for? He said, ask them for $100 million. Oh, dude, you're playing me right now. He said, I've got to approve it. And I'll tell you, I will approve it. So I went back home and pulled up my Word document and changed, add some zeros, came back and said, there's $100 million. And they called me and said, well, come over to the pension board meeting and explain to us, what are you going to use it for? Went over, I had my little cheat sheet, and I talked to them. And it was a lot of stuff going on, 11 people in the meeting, plus a bunch of people on the side, and they ain't exactly the most courteous people. They talking to each other. And somewhere when they were talking to each other, they said approve. And I'm like, they said, why are you still here? Well, I was hoping that you would at least vote on my ask. They look at each other. Oh, no, we're going to give him money. He's crazy. He didn't hear us. Well, you voted yes. You did? You told me yes to $100 million? Yeah. Oh, this is easier than I thought it would be. But the point was, and you got to gauge who's investing in you. That pension fund invests $1 billion a year, $1 billion. And they made it clear. If we gave everybody $10 million, we got 100 people out there we got to keep in charge of. We only want 10. Same thing. When I moved to Florida, there's a well-known football player. I'm not even going to mention his name because I truly think he's an idiot. But that's another subject. So he comes to me and he said, hey, I want to buy, I don't know if they have a burger franchise here in South Carolina. I don't know if they do or not. They have it in North Carolina. They do? Okay, so the starter of BurgerFi is in Florida, and he just started out. And this football player came to me and said, hey man, would you help me advise me on buying one BurgerFi restaurant? No. He said, why not? I said, dude, I'll be bored out of my mind. I said, and secondly, when you suck up my time to buy one franchise, he said, well, I don't know how many we should buy. I said, 120. 120? I said, yeah. Go big or go home, dude. He said, I don't have that kind of money. I said, I never asked you for that kind of money. I said, let's go and meet with the franchisor, the guy that put all this together. We met with him and said, hey, I know North Carolina. Sell us the state of North Carolina franchise rights. He said, okay. I said, I want to put 150. I just gathered up a little bit, and then he came back and said, I don't want that many. 150 franchises in the state of North Carolina. He said, okay. And the football player looking there like, did he just say 150? I said, yeah. And then the next week we came back, and I put together the investment team, to buy and develop 150 BurgerFi restaurants in the state of North Carolina. I had some other professional athletes and some agents and sports agents, but collectively, we could put together the money to invest in that. And the football player's looking at, oh, Lord. And then he got stupid and greedy. Well, this is my idea. That's true. And if it's my idea, I'm in control. Uh-oh. And I said to him, I said, hey, look, man, let me tell you something. If I got a call tomorrow morning to play in the NFL, I'm calling you for some advice. And there was another guy, he played in the NBA. And I said, Mike, if I got a call from the NBA, I'm calling you to help me. But today, you're in Mr. Gilmore's backyard, mine, business. And neither one of you know what to do. So I'm not fighting to tell you that I'm in control. That's not what I'm saying. But I am telling you, if you're thinking about slicing this bird up and giving me 0.5%, you got another thought coming. And true to form, that's exactly what they did. They offered me 1%. 1%? 1%? That's like somebody offering you a ride in your own car. No, dude, it don't work that way. Needless to say, it didn't happen. But the point was, you've got to go big. You've got to think big. Because at the end of the day, every deal I've ever been involved in, I've been involved in a ton of deals. You think you're going to make $1 million, and when it's all chopped up, you make $200,000. And if you got a little deal, you think you're going to make $50,000, it's chopped up, you make $3. Give yourself some room to be big. And if you don't know what you're doing all the way down the line, don't be afraid to bring in people to help you. Don't be afraid to bring in people to help you. And know that you can trust them to help you grow and to get to that next level. That's the most important thing. Go big or go home. I get so sick and tired of these little bitty businesses. The woman I dated for a long time, her son, I met her son when he was 9 years old, and he was fascinated with business. Fascinated. So I said, cool, dude. I'm going to teach you everything about business. And he came to me in August, and he said, I got an idea for a business. Okay. I'm going to sell, I forget the name of the candy, these candies in high school for $0.25 a piece. And I said, okay, but you got to get some other people in other high schools so to help you too. So we buy his inventory, and okay, you get this, man, what's your name? Okay, you got to put a deposit down. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And the next thing I know, this kid is making $75 a day selling candy in high school. He sold so much candy that the school shut him down. They shut him down last week. And so he called me all upset. I said, don't worry about it. We're going to do a workaround. So what you're going to do is we're going to put up a website. And so your buddies in the school, they go on the website at night and said, I want to buy, 5 of these candies or some Coca-Cola. And then they got a credit card from somewhere. We don't care. And they got to swipe your little website. And all you do is you deliver your product every day. And you're no longer selling. You're just delivering. And so I got to tell you, he had already figured out that he's in ninth grade. He's already figured out that he had 4 other high schools set up and distributors in those high schools. He said, Chauncey, I'm going to get to $200 a day. It's $1,000 a week, $4,000 a month. His mother was like, do you know how much money he's making? I said, I do. He tells me. And so, but for him, that's a big deal, and it is a big deal. And all I'm saying to you, whatever you do, just go big. I mean, he had already figured out how to grow this business. I said, when are you going to penetrate the college market? He said, I'm thinking about it. I was like, okay, cool. So next slide, please. So I'm trying the other thing that oftentimes businesses lose sight of, they don't understand the cycle of their business. And as a result of that, they go out of business. Let me give you an example. If you sold toys, when is your biggest time of the year? Hello? And so if you ain't selling no toys in May, should you be upset? No, not yet. You should try and sell them in May, but the cycle of your business dictates that you sell most of your product in December. November to December, that's your time. And so you've got to understand the cycle of your business. Also, you need to understand those things that impact your business. Let me give you an example. And they call them uncontrollable risk. Let's say you go out and you buy 100 houses, single-family houses today. And the feds moved interest rates up for mortgages. Uh-oh. Guess what? Uncontrollable risk. Nothing you did wrong. Those increase in rates just impact your business because you're buying these houses to flip them. Now the person you're trying to flip them to can't get a mortgage because the rates just went up. Uh-oh. What if all of a sudden the U.S. government says, we think whatever your product is an environmental risk, uncontrollable risk. The government created a problem for your business. You need to understand the impact of those things that impact your business. And so for us, as real estate investors, we knew that interest rates impacted our business. We knew that we still couldn't do our real estate deal unless we went out and got mortgages. But we controlled the size of the mortgage in the event interest rates went up. That's the stuff that you've got to do in order to prevent your business from declining. What happens is, you remember when Oprah Winfrey, when she had her show, she said something about meat, beef. It nearly destroyed a meat producers in Texas. Oprah Winfrey. She said something about contaminated beef. And all of a sudden, the sales of that company went through the. Now, that's a unique circumstance, excuse me. But it's real. And you need to write down on a piece of paper the cycle of your business and those things that impact your business. Because if you don't, you will be surprised. There's something that will impact it. Whether it's a competitor, you know, these young men from Brazil came to me one time, and they said, "Hey man, we want you to invest in our shoe company." The shoes were beautiful. I bought a bunch of them. And I asked them, "Who's your competition?" We ain't got no competition. This right here is unique. Really? Okay. Well, give me about a week to think about it. This wasn't a heavy lift. I went on Google and dug up the exact same shoe that they told me was a unique and they didn't have any competition. In fact, the person that was selling that shoe had been in business 20 years. So I knew we were in trouble. Call them up, come on over. I said, "I thought you guys didn't have any competition." "Oh, we don't." "Yes, you do." "What about this company?" "Oh, well, they did sue us one time for making a shoe that looks like this shoe." "Really? Really? And you made me have to find that? You didn't volunteer that?" "I have no interest." You got to understand who your competition is out there. You got to understand what makes you different than your competition, what makes you better than your competition. There's a window that most companies leave open on a competitive basis. And the window can be everything from a better product to a different name. In Washington, D.C., there is a restaurant by the name of Sweet Georgia Brown's. Been there 100 years. Excellent, soulful restaurant. Nice, white tablecloth restaurant. There's a guy in Detroit, Michigan, decided he wanted to start a soul food restaurant, and he wanted to name Sweet Georgia Brown. And he had a very smart lawyer. The first thing the lawyer did is to look to see if the Sweet Georgia Brown in Washington, D.C., been there 25 years, been there forever. Did they ever trademark the name? They did not. Nope. The guy in Detroit, even before he started his restaurant, trademarked the name. Called the guy in D.C. and said, "Oh, by the way, you can keep that name, but you're going to pay this much for it every month." "Hey, what you talking about?" "I own the name." You see how your competition just undermined you and just beat you to the door, and you've been asleep for 25 years. And so I say that to you to say, when you think about your competition, it ain't just more than putting out a better product. You better make sure you're protected from end to end. Because you know what? I like your name. I might want to use it. Let me see if you own it. Let me see if you trademarked it. Let me see how you protected your name. Oops, you didn't do that. Sorry. I'm going to do it. I have a dear friend of mine who recently bought the assets of Ebony and Jet. Bought everything. And then somebody came behind him and bought the modeling side of Ebony and Jet, I forget the name of it, and called him up and said, "We're going to go on the road and have the Ebony and Jet Fashion Fair. Fashion Fair is the name, a Fashion Fair again." He said, "No, you're not." I said, "What are you talking about?" The guy said, "When I bought the modeling side, I got the name Ebony and Jet." He said, "No, you didn't. I own it all. Now you can pay me a fee and use it, but otherwise you can't use it on a thing. And what you have is worthless without Ebony and Jet being attached to it." Needless to say, that company started to pay up. And that's what I'm saying. You got to protect yourself from end to end because it's more than just the product. It's how you're structured as a company. One more slide. Here's the thing I think is absolutely amazing. I get calls, I get folk asking to get together with me and wanting me to invest in their company, which is fun, I guess, if I ever do it. And I said, okay, let me ask you something. Tell me something. You in business today? Yep. How much did you pay for a telephone last month? Man, I don't know. Really? How much did you spend for inventory last month? I think. You think. Okay. You got a restaurant, right? You sell, I'm looking at your menu that you got in your restaurant, and you sell this chicken dinner, this fried chicken dinner here for $15.95. Yeah, man, that's good chicken. Okay, cool. How much does it cost you to make that meal? How much do the candy yams cost you? How much does the beans cost you? How much does the chicken cost you? And I don't know. You don't know. You want me to invest with you, and you don't even know your numbers. You've got to know your numbers better than anybody else. If it costs you $16 to make that $15.99 chicken dinner, I think you're losing money. You've got to know your numbers. You, as the owner, have got to know every dollar you spend. What's the difference between running your business and running your house? If you tell me, I don't know how much I spent for light bill last month, I do. Trust me, I know. I don't know how much I spent for telephone last month. But what are you doing? Who's running your house? Okay, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's your spouse. Okay, let's go and talk to them. If you neither one of you know, y'all in trouble. Y'all in trouble. It's the same thing with the business. You got to know what your rent is. You got to have a good estimation of what your competition rent is. You got to know what it costs you to put your product on the table. You got to know that. Because at the end of the day, let me tell you what we used to do. The reason we only took out 50% mortgages on our property, because we know, and if you take a continuum in the real estate market and you mark the real estate market, for 30-something years it went up and went down and went up and went down and went up and went down. The last time it went down was in 2008. It's going down again. And then when it went down, not only am I in trouble, my tenants are in trouble. And if my tenants can't pay me, I can't pay my mortgage, right? So I only borrow half the money. Because when the market went down like this, I walked right across the street to that dude over there, and I said, hey, man, how much are you paying this guy for rent? Man, that guy wants $45 a foot. And man, because the market's down, my business is affected. Come on. I'll give you that same space for $25 a foot. See, because I don't have to pay the mortgage that other guy's paying. He's probably done leveraged up to about 80%. I got a 30% window. I am using the down market to put him out of business. And that's what you got to understand about your business. How you use your business to get rid of your competition. Now, look, y'all, most of y'all here look like y'all are old enough to know when Eastern Airlines was in business. And when Eastern Airlines was in business, I had a professor who used to consult to all these big airlines. And when People Airline and all them little airlines come in business, he used to go to work for places like Delta and Northwest Airline. You know what he used to do? He used to figure out how low could Delta drop the prices to put Eastern out of business. That's all he did. Because as a little bitty airline, you only got so much cash. And you're a publicly traded airline, I can look on the stock market and tell you exactly how much cash you got. And I know, and I'm a big airline, I got more cash than you. I fly more places than you. All I can do is figure out, let's see. They're running a $99 special this weekend to fly way over there. My special is going to be $49. Let's see them get to that. And if they drop to match me, they got two problems. They either drop to match me, and I'm going to run you through your cash, or you just say, you know what? All them customers I thought I was going to have, I ain't got them. There are big companies in business to put you out of business. by using their product and using their strategy to run you right out of business. Get over it. That's competition. That's the free marketplace. And if you're not smart enough to respond to it, you're going to be in trouble. I think the best example of this, watch oftentimes Burger King and McDonald's. They have been doing this for years. Burger King said, you can buy 5 hamburgers and some chicken and all this, $5. McDonald's said, oh, cool. You can buy all of that plus this, plus 2 sodas for $4. It's about the competition, and if they get, and they're always close to each other. When I'm going down, I get off the highway, I go down, I say, oh, I just missed the Burger King. Ain't no problem. McDonald's going to be down here somewhere. That's just the way they roll. I mean, that's just the way they set up. And I got to tell you something. They are there by design. And every single day they show up, they're trying to put the other out of business. McDonald's came out with ribs in the black community. And so, the ribs are selling. But they weren't selling everywhere. And McDonald's is over there going, Burger King going, them ribs selling? No. If they start to sell, we're going to come out with ribs. And so the point I'm trying to make is that you absolutely got to know the number of your product. You got to know the number of your business and know what it costs to run it. Because if you don't, somebody else will tell you. You'll be gone by tomorrow morning. And know that you have enough money to go long. And keep doing forecasts. Because, I talk to a lot of businesses, I got enough money to last 6 months unless something changed. The likelihood of something changing is slim to none. So you got some choices to make. And when you get in business, you got to know that. You got to know the answer to that question. And once again, I don't care if you are a medical office, a dental office, or a church. You got the same issues. Now, the church is probably not as blatant as McDonald's and Burger King, but they're doing things to bring, it's a relatively small customer base, and they're trying to take those customers and bring them in here. They probably pass some churches on the way to here, and, they're going to do something to make sure that person, come on. They go online. Guess what? You ain't even got to get out of bed to come to my church. But just hit that giving button, you be good. Online giving button, that's a strategy. I'm okay with that. And it's real. And so I'm just saying that it doesn't matter what you do. You can say, well, I don't want to do that. You in business, you're going to do one of these things. You're going to do these things I'm talking about. Next slide, please. Here is my favorite. People come to me. I used to teach a class in Boston called How to Start a Business. And they were, people like, well, me and her going to start a business together. Really? And why do you need her, and why does she need you? You better be able to answer that question. Well, we grew up together. That's wonderful. Ain't got nothing to do with business. You need to understand the financial strengths of your partner, the professional strengths of your partner, be able to put them on a piece of paper and answer yourself, do I need this skill set as my partner? Don't have a partner because you like them. You can still like them, and they might be your partner. That's a small pie. And they call it profit. You're going to slice up that pie and give it to somebody because you like them? Really? You're pretty okay. I like that. So you need to be clear about why you have a partner. Well, this is my wife. Okay. She can continue to be your wife and not your business partner. And whether it's your wife or some woman or dude out there, you got to be clear about why you got them on the team, why you have them in your business. Other thing is, okay, you guys will figure out, okay, Joe got the right skills. They can do all the good stuff I need. But let me understand something. Is Joe an active partner or a passive partner? Joe Joe ain't been seen for the last 2 weeks. And Joe said, oh, no, man. When we started the business, I was just going to help you get started, but I wasn't going to work in the business. I'm a passive partner. Well, why didn't you say something? I thought you were an active partner. You got to be clear about that. Because if you're not clear, you're gonna be surprised one day. Because Joe is your partner. And when you get that big account, you done work day and night for, you got that big check coming, Joe said, where's my piece? Well, I ain't seen you. I don't have to be here. I'm a passive partner. So you got to be clear if your partner is passive or active. Be clear about the skills they bring to the table. And when you divide up the work, make sure they are using their skills to help the business. You know, if your partner is great in accounting, and then you got them over there cooking in the kitchen, no, don't work that way. And so that's hugely important, because I get so many partnerships where we partners. All right, that's cool. What you do? Well, I got the idea. Okay, what you do? I was helping her flesh out the idea. Okay, we got 2 idea people and no workers. I've been in partnerships. My last company, I had 4 partners, and everybody had a role. And do not be afraid to take controlling interest. I own 71% of my company, and I made no apologies about it. Because at the end of the day, I think that I put together this team. I picked that person. Everybody had a specialty. And I knew why they were there. And I knew why they were my partners. But at the end of the day, the final decisions rested with me. And I wanted it that way. Because as a buddy of mine who owns a big old company, he says, it was a benevolent dictatorship. No. My employees came. I had 120 employees. My employees came to me and said, I don't know why we ain't taking President's Day off. Because you got Martin Luther King Day off. That's why. Well, why can't we have them both? No. Well, who we talked to? You just did. You don't need to talk to anybody else. That's the deal. And so don't be afraid to be in control. You're a business. Because I can promise you one thing. If it goes to do this, everybody's going to give it to you. Go, you the boss. Go take care of it. Well, if it's doing this, I need to be the boss too. Okay? Next. I don't get this at all. Good employees are the reason you make the living you make. A bad employee will destroy your company yesterday, and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. I went into a doctor's office about a week ago, and the employee was so foul and disrespectful. Now here's the doctor in the back, and that employee's out front. Well, what time was your appointment? Well, it was at 10 o'clock, but it's 9:30. Why you get here so early? What is wrong with her? That employee, if I took the attitude, you know what? I ain't dealing with this. I'm out of here. The doctor in the back don't have a clue what went down. So you got to have good employees that they understand that there's a connection between you and the people you do business with and when they get paid and how they get paid. There's a connection to it. And if you got bad employees, they're running your customers away and you don't even know it. Think about when you go to a restaurant and the waiter or waitress is bad and you don't even come back. You don't even know the owner and you pissed at their business. So you got to treat them well, but they're the reason you're successful. On the flip side, you can't be afraid to pay them. Don't be stingy. Well, you didn't come in every day this week. I know your baby's sick, so we're going to have to pay you like a third of what we usually pay you. Come on. Really? But the time you got that big order and you need somebody to stay late, they stayed. And they stayed to clean up. Oh, yeah, I paid them then. But they didn't have to stay. This is a free country. So don't be afraid to pay those people that are the cause of your success. You know, I got to tell you something. I had an issue with my car. I took it into AutoNation, and on two separate occasions, and every time, the person waiting on me said, um, you happy? Yeah, I'm okay. Did I do a good job? Yeah, you did great. Well, you're going to get a survey. And when you get that survey, will you like check them tens? Okay, don't miss that survey. I said, why the survey so important? Because that's how I get my bonus, and that's how I get promoted. And if I get one bad survey, they will put me on probation. Oh, I get it. Here's a company that understands the connection between that employee, that frontline employee, and the customer. If I walk out there, I'm upset, I got a way of expressing it. But now I have a way of rewarding the people that understand there's a connection between your pay and my happiness. And that's important. You want to keep that employee happy, 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 happy. And, you know, when we were in business, we did some things with the employees because they were important to me. I had 120 employees. I tell them, every one of them, the reason I can live the life I live is because of you. Y'all work hard. Y'all come in on Saturdays and Sundays. And so we had this thing where we paid 100% of health care. And what I would do is I'll go out and get the best health care I can find. Because I lived part-time at that time in D.C. and Florida. And my kids were, I ain't got that, I got 5 kids. They were all over the place. And I needed a health care, regardless of where they were. They can walk into any hospital in this country. I told the person, go and find me the best, and then I gave that to my employees. One of the things I'd love to brag about, because these kids are still in my life today, and their mother is very important to me, my associate general counsel, she came to me and she said, I'm pregnant. I said, well, congratulations. She said, I'm going to have twins. I said, oh. She said, you know, when I have my kids, I said, you stay out as long as you need to stay out. Well, I thought the law, I said, I got the law, but you stay out. Those are your babies. There ain't nothing more important than them, at least not to me. She came back to work, and she thought she had a sitter. And she came into work, and she said, I can't do this. You know, I had this sitter. Now the sitter's going crazy. These are my babies. I said, what? I said, what would it take for you to come to work? She said, I just got to know they're okay. So we'll bring them to work. We'll set up a special room for you and your babies, and you feed your babies. And when you ain't feeding your babies and you need a break, you come down and let me play with them. Bring them down. Those twins are still in my life today. They would sit in my office on the floor, and they had a little thing. But the point being, she says to this day, I can't believe you did that for me. I said, I would do it for everybody. Because you are that important to me. And if I treat you well, you treat me well, and you treat my business well. Don't go cheap on the employees. You'll be in trouble every single time. Next. Was that number 10? Okay, that was number 10. So, sorry. I thought I'd go through those principles because they're very important. They're very important to me. And I hope they're important to you. And if you would like, I'll get those slides to you, you know, at a later date, so that you have them and you'll look at them, and it'll be part of your decision on how you do business. What I want to do more than anything else is answer some questions that you may have about your business, because you know, God has blessed me with a gift. The gift is I have. Some days I think it's a gift. I have the ability to start businesses. I have the ability to look at business. I've been hired by HUD, been hired by several banks to go in and fix the problem loans they have. They make a business a loan, the business get in trouble, and then they're like, uh-oh, Chauncey, go fix that problem so we can get our money. And I'll parachute in, I talk to the owner, I talk to the employees, and I talk to the customers. And you know, some owners are clueless. They don't even realize their employees hate them. How can you do that? I work with you every day and don't even know you don't like me. How we do that? And so, one of the things that I've been given a gift about, most companies I can fix pretty quickly. I don't want to say easily, but quickly. Only if the owner chooses to pay attention. And some of them, their ego is so tied up into the failure of the business, they won't let you fix the business. They'd much rather go out of business than to listen to you. That's ego. That's ego. And I tell them all the time. I told one guy, he had a nice business. I said, I'm sitting here wondering, should I just let you go out of business and come back and buy it? Or are you going to do the right thing? I'm trying to do the right. No, you're not. No, you're not. Come on, dude. You've got to understand. You've got to change your habits. If your household is running in the ground and you like, this is my house, it ain't going to be for long. It's the same thing with your business. Put your ego aside. Decide, I'm fixing this. And the last thing is not on the slide. In the early 80s, in 1985, I was doing business in Boston, Massachusetts. It was the hottest real estate market in the country. I used to say, I'd show up at a project, sprinkle some magic dust on it, and sold out. We believed in all that hype. It must be us. Oh, my God. Otherwise, how can it be it's us? Well, we woke up one morning, and 11 banks in Boston were going under. The real estate market, it took a nosedive. And let me tell you, it was like being on an airplane. There was nothing you can do because you're going down. And all the projects we had and all the stuff, I didn't have one nickel of income. 49 cents. I got my 2 babies at home. I got my wife at home. They're just sharpening that blade, man. Come home and tell me you ain't got no money and see what happened. Uh-oh. And I called a buddy of mine. He was downtown. I was like in Midtown in Boston. I said, Doug, I need to come down and see you, man. Went down. He was a senior level executive at the biggest development company in Boston. Came down, took the train, walked a couple blocks, got to his fancy office, sat there. And he said to me, how's it going, man? Oh, man, it's good. How the kids? Kids doing good. How your wife? Everybody good. And I said, hey, man, thanks for taking the time to see me. And I got up to leave. And he said, hey, man, and Doug's a white guy. He said, next time you come see me, you need to fix that disease you got. What are you talking about? I ain't got no disease. I said, Doug, I ain't got no disease. He said, yes, you do. I said, how do you figure I got a disease? He said, sit down, I'll tell you. He said, so let me tell you something. You called me this morning, asked to come down and see me. You sit there, asked you how the children were doing, how the wife was doing. You said, everybody's good. Yeah. Is that why you got on the train to come see me? No. He said, you know why you can't tell me why you came to see me? I said, why? He said, you got black man disease. Oh, whoa, hold on now. Hold on. I said, what's that? Pride. You came to ask me for something, and your pride won't let you ask me. He said, Chauncey, white guy sat there. I said, how things going? He said, man, let me tell you something. I ain't got no more money for the mortgage. I ain't got no money for the car. I ain't got no money for the baby formula. I ain't got nothing. He said, you want to start over again? Okay. And I did. And I learned a valuable lesson that day. You got to ask. I said, Doug, all the projects I got, I am generating no income. None. And about the 15th of this month, I got to pay my mortgage, I got to pay my car. I got them 2 babies. I don't know what I'm going to do, man. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I could consult with your company if you can allow me. He said, okay. How many projects can you handle? I said, I can do 3. He said, are you going to tell me about your deposit that you need? I get a deposit. He said, yeah, you know what, a job like this, I think you need between $15,000 and $20,000. He wrote it up. He said, take it downstairs and go home and feed your family. The lesson I learned from that is that pride affects and gets in the way of us being successful. When you're in trouble, tell the world. When you ain't in trouble, tell the world. But don't sit there. I talked to folk today. Hey, Chauncey, how you doing? Everything's good, man. A little challenging right now, but everything's good. Really? Next week, go about out, closed. Call. What happened? Man, I went out of business. I lost my biggest client. When did you lose your biggest client? Last month. So the day you told me everything's a little challenging, you were in trouble. It's your pride that wouldn't let you do that, wouldn't let you tell me the truth. And you never, ever know who can help you. I've been there. Been there. My first real estate deal in the history of all the deals I'd done, I was sitting on a wall with a guy playing softball. And he said to me, "What's your plan for your life?" I worked at Polaroid in manufacturing. And he did too. And we were on the Polaroid softball team. We were sitting on the wall. I said, "Man, one day I'd love to buy me some real estate." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Tell me about it." I told him, I'd worked for my dad during the summer, doing some construction stuff. He said, "Yeah." 3 weeks later, that guy called me. He said, "Hey, man, I own an investment company." I didn't know that. And one of my clients died, and they got a 3-flat house to sell. Okay? And I want you to buy it. I said, "Lenny, I don't have any money. I'm a year out of college." He said, "I never asked you to bring any money to the table. You want to buy it?" "Okay, you put it like that? Yeah." He went and got me an investor, one of his clients. Dr. Skoloff and his wife gave me $26,000 to buy that house. My very first real estate deal ever. Because we had a discussion. I told him, never expected in my wildest dreams to help me. I'll tell you the second time. I moved from a 3-flat house. I'm a baller now. I just spent 26 grand on a house. The next property came up was an apartment building. It was $96,000. I went back to Lynn and said, "Hey, man, will you get me an investor?" He said, "All right, provided you put in $11,000. I did not have $11,000. Every single Thanksgiving, my parents drove from Savannah, Georgia to Greenville, South Carolina to have Thanksgiving with their parents. I'm sitting in the kitchen with my mother's mother, who's a maid. My grandmother probably made $50 a week, $75 a week. And she said, "Baby, what you doing with your life?" I said, "Mama, man, I got this opportunity to buy this apartment building." She said, What's keeping you from buying that apartment building?" I said, "The guy's going to put up some money, but I need $11,000. And my grandmother rolling out them rolls, man, and got flour all over her hand. My mother's an only child. My mother's 90 years old. She still acts like an only child. And so I love her to death, but my Lord, and my mother's like, no, don't you do that." And I'm thinking, what is she talking about? What my mom? And my grandmother said, "This is my money." My grandmother said, "I'll give you $11,000. You, $50 a week, cleaning folk houses, have 11 grand? Yeah." She gave me $11,000, and I bought that apartment building. But here's what I did now. I could never lose it in my wildest dreams. I took the money, and I went and bought the house, and every day I woke up owning that apartment building, I kept saying to myself, I got to make some money. This building's got to appreciate, so when I sell it, I can give my grandmother her money back, because she didn't have it to give to me. 2 years later, I sold it. I made a lot of money. Came back to Greenville, gave her $11,000 plus another $11,000, and I bought my grandmother a dishwasher, which she had never had. I went out to Sears, bought her a dishwasher, had it sent, and my grandmother called my mother and said, "You wouldn't believe what just happened. He gave me 11 grand back, he gave me 11 more, and he bought me a dishwasher." And my mother called me and said, "What you gonna do for me?" "Nothing." You weren't in the deal. So I just tell you, you never know who can help you. And to this day, that's the same thing. You never know who can help you or how they can help you. Just be honest, be direct, and don't play games. With that, I want to open it for some questions. The mic man in the back waiting for some questions. You stretching, or you gonna ask me a question? Okay. Okay, your Uncle Gene.
I have one question. You hear that people buy real estate with no money down. And sometimes kind of hard to understand that. Can you explain some of that?
Well, they tell you can buy a car with no money down too. Have you? No. You know, I don't get into the hype of quick, easy. There are some select instances where what happens is, let's say the house is worth, it's being sold for 100 grand, and the owner, or you go to the bank and the bank says, I'll give you 75 or $80,000. So you're short $20,000. The owner can give you a second mortgage for $20,000. So technically, you put no money down. Okay. Usually in those cases, that property's been on the market for a long time. The owner has not been able to sell it, and it's probably not going to appreciate that much. The other thing I would encourage you to do is, you know, there's a lot of money in the United States from places that you wouldn't even imagine. If you think about it for a second, if I got 20 people, I got an accounting firm that does my taxes. They see the financial records of everybody. This is a true story. That's where I got most of my money from early on. And I go to them and say, hey, man, I'm a good customer of yours. Would you introduce me to people that you do their taxes for, you think can put up $20,000? They don't think they know. They're looking at their taxes. And ask them, would they be willing to invest in my real estate deal? And what's interesting about that, real estate is probably one of the most attractive investments you can make, because you can, that $20,000 that other person put in, they get depreciation, they get appreciation, and they get a percentage of the profits. And they say, you're going to do all the work. That's cool. I'm here to do all the work. So in those instances, those are solid no money down deals. But, you know, I don't subscribe to this notion that, oh, you know, you go in and you fast talk to seller and they'll let you buy it with no money. Maybe they are, but I don't do that. I try to stay away from quick, fast, and in a hurry stuff. Okay. This young man has a question. Oh, wait. You're going south on me over here.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
And that was not my question.
Okay.
Okay. If you make a profit but you don't hit the goals that you were trying to get to, can you really still call yourself successful?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of ways of measuring your success. Okay. And profit just happens to be one of them, and profit just happens to be one of the ones that most people focus on. I think that's a mistake. Because in the two businesses that I was just running along, they weren't successful and they weren't bad, but they allowed me to pay for my kids' education. That's a success. Okay, now the other two businesses were very successful, so it allowed me to pay for their college education, you know, which is, you know, equally as important. So that was a success and allowed me to make money. So success is measured in different ways. And the other thing is, you got to think about from a lifestyle point of view, are you happy running this business? And even if it's moderately successful, are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you providing for your family? That's success. And that's the other measure you got to decide on. Because you can make a lot of money doing a lot of things. It may not be legal and it may not make you happy. So you got to think about it that way, and don't be bashful, because if you feel like you're successful, you're satisfied with the business, you take pride in the business and do the right thing by the business and follow these principles that I showed earlier. And I mean every one of them, every business I've ever run, these are the principles that I start off with and go right for the gusto. Okay?
Mr. Mayfield, thank you again for those personal rules. Stephanie Priester on behalf of my business partner, December and I. So can you speak to the importance of building a network of wealth, you know, positioning ourselves for increase by surrounding ourselves with people and resources and the opportunities and information that informs our decisions and actions?
No, thank you, Stephanie. I think that's an excellent question, because understand this. And part of, I tend to be very direct. Somebody broke can't help you. They can't do anything but just, maybe get some alcohol and rub your back. And if you can do that. So you really have to develop a network and work a network that don't be bashful about looking up to people that you think can help you. Let me tell you something. And this is one of the things I learned in Boston. And I learned when I was in business school. But my kids learned when they were in grade school because they went to school in Boston. We lived in Boston. And that is, you need to learn how to network. You need to know everybody that's doing your business in Greenville, North Carolina, Georgia, everybody. And you need to make an investment in yourself to be prepared to go to that conference over there and that conference over there. Because when somebody asks the question, I am looking for this, your name has got to be at the top of the list. Oh, I know somebody in Greenville that does that. It's about networking. When I was in business school, when my first year in business school, every Friday, it was required. Do you see that tree over there? It has the word Section A. I was in Section A in school. Everybody from Section A is going to meet around that tree. And around that tree, you're going to get to know the people that are sitting next to you in class. Because we want you to know them when you finish, when they go off and they do whatever, y'all know enough about each other that you can pick up the phone and ask them, hey man, I'm trying to do. Or your name is at the top of the list. You've got a network. I tell my son's a lawyer. When he started practicing law, I said, son, let me tell you something. I got a Rolodex to die for. To die for. So when you're out there trying to hustle some business, call me. I know everybody. So one night he goes to this hoity-toity event, and they were honoring a judge, and she was, it was like they were coming and genuflecting and kissing the ring like the Pope. She's standing there, and he gets up there. He got a little name bag on, and he stands up there. He's waiting in line, and he's next in line. He walks up, and she said, Chauncey, how your daddy doing? My daddy? Your daddy's still in Florida. You know my daddy? Judge, you the big dog. You know my daddy? You tell your, hold on. Tell your daddy to call me. That's my cell number. Tell your daddy to call me. My son leaves the event, gets in his car, he goes, Daddy, you know Judge Carter? Oh, please. Judge Carter ain't always been a judge. Okay. I said, of course I know Linda. How's she doing? He said, this is her cell number. She gave me her cell number to call. You gonna call her? Yeah. Let me call Linda, see how she doing. That's what I'm saying. You know folk today that will grow up tomorrow. But you got to plant the seed today. And you've got to be out there and building that network. You build the network of potential people you need to know in your industry. You build the network of potential investors. Just rich people. Just go around them. Find some rich people with some guilt. Hey, would you invest how much you need? I don't know, a couple $100,000. All right, come by the office and get it. You want to see my plan? No. I got guilt, but here, take all the money. That's true. You never know why people want to invest in your business. Why do they even care about you? Why do they even care about you? I'm working on a deal right now in Florida. It's a big old deal, big old real estate deal. And my partner says to me, man, this woman called me, and she wants to talk about our deal. All right, we'll call her back. Call her. She's in New York. Jewish woman. She said, how much money y'all need to do that deal? Oh, excuse me, what's your name again? Here's what I did. I done boom, 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 boom. Oh, you're a player. I want to help y'all. I've been hearing about y'all. Okay. Come on up to New York and see me. Now, we don't know who we're going to see. Just some person we thought was crazy and said, I want to help you. But you know what, man? We never know. You never know. Get on a plane, fly to New York, meet with her. And I always ask people, why are you doing this? Jewish woman. She said, because I want my son to have a role model like you. Oh, wait, hold on. Slow down now. You want your son, for me to be your son role model? Really? Let me show you a picture of my son. Oh, I didn't know he looked like that. He's black. How was I supposed to know that? And you never know why she's wanting to put all this money into our deal. Go back and bring me the plan. Now, how do you, when you sit by yourself, how do you figure that scenario in? You don't. But you keep networking, you keep talking to people. And she said, oh, by the way, there are a bunch of my friends just like me. Oh, no. There's money, real money, and wealth. She got wealth. And so, you know, I say that this only not to impress you, but to say, I don't know why how could I possibly know she's looking for a role model for her black son? How would I even know she had a black son? He's a good kid, and he was at the University of Miami, in Miami. How was I supposed to know that? So my point is, do your networking, talk to everybody. And don't be bashful to tell your story, because you never know who wants to be a part of your story. And, you know, it's just amazing. I mean, I raised a lot of money from some people that I don't know what the issue was. Maybe they're guilty. I don't know. But I know I was always honest, and I always delivered what I promised I was going to deliver, because I never knew when you were coming behind me. Because if I screwed it up, I ain't doing nobody else. So, other questions?
Yeah, so earlier when you were talking about, belief and, how it's key and everything, I have another question that kind of piggybacks off of it. So, you're confident and, but there's this fear of success. And there's this movie, I don't know if have you seen Coach Carter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the end when he said our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So when it comes to, your fear of success, how do you combat that fear of success? Because you said sometimes you're so successful that it was scary. Mm-hmm. How do you combat that fear of success?
No, I think that's an excellent question. I'll give you an example. There was a young man who'd been trying for years to get a record deal in California, and my brother discovered him. And one of my dearest friends was the writer and producer for New Kids on the Block when they first came out. He wrote all their songs. So I said to my brother, let me get Greg on the phone, and let's see, and have your guy on the phone, and I just want Greg to evaluate the talent, see if you're wasting your time. So Greg put him through the paces and found this kid could sing. He was exceptional. And so we reached out, and there's a very famous producer by the name of David Foster. David Foster wrote Whitney Houston's songs. He wrote Dionne Warwick's. I mean, he's very famous. And through a series of events, my brother was able to get his singer in with David Foster. And David Foster went out and got this kid an $800,000 record deal. And the way the record industry worked, it's not like you get the money. The money is paid. They were going to put up $800,000 for you to produce a record. Cool. Kid's on his way. Not only was David producing, he's a writer. So he was writing all the songs. And so one day, and David's studio is in his house. And one day this kid comes over to his house, and he is on the way. He's on the way. And so David wasn't there. And the kid knew David wasn't going to be there. So David said, I'm running late, just go in and practice by yourself. Cool. David's wife was there. And the kid did a couple of things that you got to be prepared to shoot yourself in the head to do these kind of things. First thing he did, he said to David's wife, hey, I don't have any money. Can you let me borrow $100? That's not a big, that's no big deal. So his wife gave him $100. He finishes his rehearsal. His wife is in the kitchen. She's reading something. He goes over to her and massages her neck. Uh-oh. And then he hits on her. She's like, what's wrong with you? And the wife, get out of here. So he goes. That weekend, he goes to the Beverly Hills Hotel and checks in and charges the room charges to David Foster. The Beverly Hill Hotel, if you don't know, rooms are between $800 and $1,000 a night. He knew David had an account there. He goes to party and charges it to David. David finds out. You know what he did? He fired him. Get out of here. I'm not going to do a record with you. So the question becomes, the kid, all he had to do was keep singing. He was going to turn it over, and it was going to be, the money was going to flow. Why did he sabotage himself? He was terrified of being successful. There's a young lady I used to work with, and she is an outstanding lawyer. She's one of the smartest people I know. We worked in banking together. And she just left the private law practice. And she was a superstar in this big law firm. And when they said, you know what? It is January, we're going to make you an equity partner. She came back. She cut all her hair off. She started wearing these mini dresses to work, these wild stockings. And they're like, you crazy? What are you doing? Well, she did that. And then just before they made her a partner, she quits. She quits. I met her. I hired her at the bank. Brought her in. Started working together. I leave the bank to start my company. I went back and I said, hey, I want you to come work for me. She said, doing what? Being a lawyer. That's what you are. No. I said, let me tell you something. Here's the problem you have. The problem is you're one of the smartest lawyers I know anywhere. The problem is you don't know it. And you don't believe it. And most of the time when people self-sabotage, they don't believe it. They don't. There's something in their psyche that says you don't deserve this. And in her case, her parents always told her, you're never going to be good enough. So when she became good enough, she went right back to telling herself, I'm not good enough to be here. And oftentimes, it's because they don't believe in themselves. They don't even love themselves. And that's why I said, with my kids and what I was taught, you lucky to have me here. I don't care where it was, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. You meet my baby tomorrow. My baby got accepted to 11 Ivy League graduate schools. They just kept on coming. They just kept on coming. And she kept saying, Dad, I can't believe, you can't believe it. You deserve it. You deserve it. You're qualified. And, you know, she's like my son, who's a lawyer. He got in, my son's a little different. Both my boys they're partly crazy, but both my boys, my oldest son got into law school. When he got into law school, I said, God answers prayers. This is a miracle. He got in. He got in the top 10 law school. And when I tell you his high school grades, there was bad and worse. And then he got into Michigan, a top 10 law school, and he finished at the top of his class. We were in Greensboro, North Carolina, going for Christmas when we got his grades the first time. And I told my sister, I said, Bernadette, I know the boy gonna flunk out of law school because every time I call him, he's playing Xbox. He ain't studying. You know, I said, you know, I can't get him to study, and he think it's funny. And I was like, you know what? He gonna get his grades right before Christmas, and we're gonna have a bad Christmas. We're driving to Raleigh to pick up his sisters from the airport, and he's sitting over there. Hey, Dad, I got my grades. Oh Lord! And I said, you know, man, I thought we'd at least get to Christmas Eve and have a nice time. Okay, let's hear it. He said, Dad, I got straight A's. So I literally pulled off. Hey, boy, give me that phone. This you? I said, they must have lowered the standards. I went to an event a couple of days before he graduated from law school. And this woman was standing there, a black professor who's in charge of all the students. And I went over and introduced myself to her. And she said, you're Chauncey's dad? I said, yeah. She said, he's brilliant. I said, come here. That's my child right there. You see him? She said, yeah. I said, you're not talking about my child is brilliant? I said, it is. At some point, something clicked on. He believes in himself. He is the youngest partner ever make equity partner in his firm, and it's the biggest law firm in Michigan. And he's the first black one in 20 years. And I'm going to tell you, at 15, I was getting them scores in from the teachers, 25 out of 100, 27. And I call him, dude, what are you doing? Dad, it ain't that deep. Yes, it is. And so God answers prayers. But somewhere along the line, he believed in himself. It kicked on. It kicked in like you wouldn't believe. And I wouldn't give up on it. I kept pushing them. I pushed them on. But you got it somewhere, no matter how far you can go, you got to believe in yourself. And you deserve to be there. You deserve to be there. Why does a dude like Suge Knight makes $1 billion and goes out and beats up somebody? Tell me. Because at the core of him, that's who he is, and he doesn't believe he deserves to be there. He believes that he should still be that dude playing and messing around with the Crips and the Bloods and beating up people. You got to believe you deserve to be. Always tell yourself, I deserve to be here. I am the best at what I do. Every day, get up in the mirror and tell yourself that. How are we doing on time? We got room for we got time for a few more questions.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Sure.
I have some kind of structural questions for specific kind of businesses that I have, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The first one is, how do you decide how to structure your business? So I have a couple of retail-based businesses,
Okay.
and one of them I'm trying to figure out how to structure, either like LLC, partnership, or S corp. How do you play in those factors when making those decisions?
Well, number one, always remember, whether it's a real estate deal or it's a business deal, you are managing a bundle of risk. Okay, keep that in mind. And the question becomes, how do you manage the risk? So the most efficient way is that you set up an LLC, a limited liability corporation. As long as that LLC allows you, as the individual, to take the tax benefits from that company. Okay, you do at an early stage, you do not want to set up a corporation. Anybody know why you don't want to do that? A regular corporation? See, because you're not only managing risk, you're managing a series of tax benefits as well. And so if you set up a corporation, a C corporation is taxed at the corporate level and again at the individual level. A limited liability corporation is only taxed at the individual level. So you get the benefits of that corporation like an individual, and you get to use the taxes, the tax shortfalls. So to protect yourself, if you're doing a series of businesses, what you want to do is put together a holding company. And under the holding company, you have a series of limited liability corporations. And keep in mind, an LLC, what it's referred to, is absolutely cheap to set up. You can do it yourself. You know, most people use a lawyer, that's cool. A limited LPP, which is a limited professional LPC corporation, can only be done with lawyers, doctors, and folk that have professional licenses.
How would your holding company then be listed? So like if you're saying the holding company would hold the LLCs?
Yeah, what you try to do is you really work at minimizing the disclosure of who owns the company. Okay, so the holding company is set up in here, and it can be ABC Holding Company. Okay, and everybody sees ABC Holding Company. That's cool. But that holding company actually owns the LLC, and you own the holding company. Just because the holding company owns the LLC does not necessarily mean you own the same number of shares in that LLC below. Okay, you've got to protect yourself. You're managing against risk. You're managing against liability, because the first time somebody slips and falls in your shop, they're going to see who owns it, and they're going to see who's your favorite insurance company, and we're suing them. Okay, so holding company owns the downstream of those limited liability corporations, and at some point in time, everything rolls up to the holding company. The other benefit of having holding company that owns, let's say you got your retail shop number one, it's you and a partner. You own 50% and the partner owns 50%. But the partner doesn't own the holding company. They only own part of this down here. So that 50% rolls up to you. And then in your next company, in your next retail shop, you own 100% of it. So it allows you to have different partnership relationships downstream, and it allows you to own and roll everything up to your top line, whereas your partner can keep theirs at the lower level.
Thank you. Also on that line, what would you use to determine whether you're moving from if it's an online business initially, what are some factors that you would look for to determining whether you move that into a brick and mortar?
Yeah, I see people make that mistake all the time. They think just because they're selling online, all of a sudden they deserve to be a storefront. I would encourage you to look at somewhere like Amazon. Amazon has done some fascinating things where what they've done is you buy everything on Amazon online. But Amazon doesn't have a storefront. They're using these lockers where I just saw one. I had one in my building, but I saw one in the hotel I'm in today, where you can have your Amazon order shipped to that locker at that place. And what happens is they email you a code, and you go and you put the code in, and a door open. That's your locker. But the determining factors are for looking whether you go from online to a physical location. You've got to ask yourself, do my customers need to see a physical location to be confident about my product? And the chances are they don't if your online business is successful. And you ask yourself, what can I get from a physical location that I can't get from this online business? Because you give up a lot of flexibility when you go from online to a physical location. You got to sign a lease. You're going to be there for 1, 3, 5 years. You got fixed overhead, and you're going to pay that whether you sell one widget or 10. The other thing is that you've got to be confident that there's enough of a market that needs to walk in and physically kick the tires of your operation. And if you're confident of that and believe that you can reinforce your online business by having a physical location, I would do it. But understand the added cost you just added by doing that.
Just two more, sorry.
All right, go ahead.
When you're looking at, so you have a successful business and you're looking to invest in real estate, typically maybe flipping houses or something like that. What is your suggestion so I've been suggested to use the equity in my current home to invest in additional properties to flip. What are your concerns or maybe a different idea?
All right, let me ask you this question. You have kids?
I do.
How many?
4.
So let me ask you this. You're going to do a business deal. You come to me and I said, all right, here's the deal. I'll do the deal. I'll help you do the deal. But them 2 little kids right there, they're going to be mine. I'm going to raise them. What would you say?
No.
Exactly. Why are you betting your house on a speculative deal? You would not do that. I would encourage you not to do that.
Okay.
Do not take the equity out of your house to buy a speculative flip house. Now, you may want to say, every month when I get paid, I'm going to set aside X number of dollars. And then I'm going to have this. That's my play money. I wouldn't risk the whole to play a risky business like flipping houses. How do you think about it this way? When you flip a house, the day you buy that house, how do you know somebody's going to show up to buy it? You don't. And if you can tell me with certainty how many days that house is going to be on the market before you sell it, we might have something to talk about. You can't do it. So remember, whether you're buying a business, running a business, investing in real estate, you're managing a series of risks. And that's a big risk. I'm going to bet my house where I got my babies. I go every day on this speculative project over here. Really? No, you're not. I would strongly encourage you, don't do that. And whoever told you to do it, I know we're in church, but you probably pimp slap. Okay?
If you're
So
looking
I'm
at,
just saying.
if you're looking at deciding whether you want to flip houses or hold and invest, what kind of things do you look for that would differ in that?
I will tell you, I'm a little bit partial. I don't particularly care for flipping houses. And, you know, I've got relatives that flip houses, and we talk almost every week. And I've said to them, recently, is last week, I said, here's what I want you to do. On that next house you flip, I want you to write down every hour you spend dealing with that house to the day you sell it. And you take those hours and divide it by the amount of money you made. And guess what? I bet you see you didn't make very much money at all. And in lump sum, you're impressed. But on an hourly basis, go to McDonald's and work there. What I believe in is using real estate to build wealth. In that, I would say, go out and buy a small apartment building and hold on to it. And here are the reasons why. It's not because what I think should work. I'm telling you about what I did. So when early on, when my kids were born, someone told me, you can never save enough money to send them to college, ever. Yes, I can. Sure you can. Because if you look at college tuition, it's going up like this. And your salary is going up like this. And not only is it not going up very fast, you got to take a piece of it and save it, and you got to take the other piece and live off of it. So how do you think you're going to beat this? What you should do, and it's about, and one of the reasons I say buy it and hold it, buy a small apartment building, 3 units, 2 units, 4 units, cheap, and hold on to them. And I was told, hold on to them till your babies go to college, because real estate will appreciate so fast that when 18 years later, you have enough money to send your kids to college. My sons, they went crazy, and I had to send them to military school, so I had it planned out, and they messed up the plan. But I was able to sell the real estate. And I had more than enough money to put them in college and keep them in college. The second thing is, let's say you don't decide, you don't want to sell it. You can refinance it. Take your cash out and pay for whatever you want to pay for. Pay for your next big house. Okay, you still got the real estate. But here's the one I love the best. If you go out and buy a 4-flat for $200,000, that's $50,000 a unit you just paid, right? How many of you in here would not buy a condo for $50,000 a unit? Yep. I bet you'll pay $100,000 a unit for a condo. Yep. So when you buy a 4-flat, you just paid $50,000. You can convert those to condos and sell them for $100,000. You just doubled your money. And while you were doubling your money, you were taking in income. The people still paying rent. You can still, you're getting depreciation. You're still working on your taxes. The day you flip a house, your partner, Uncle Sam, says, that was beautiful. I love what you did. Where's my 40%? The day you flip it, you're on 40%. Every time you flip a house, give me 40. Your partner kicks in like you wouldn't believe, and they dare you not to give it to them. But if you bought, you hold, and if you're taking that money from that 4-flat and you're saving it, and you said, well, you know what? I want to improve my single family. Go and do it. But you know what? I want to buy a bigger one. And you go to the bank and you say, I make $50,000 a year, but I get $50,000 from my 4-flat. They got to include that income. So now I go to the bank, I got more money to qualify for a bigger loan. So now I buy another apartment building and another apartment building. And every one of them, if I choose to, I can convert them to condominiums. I bought a condo project in Detroit. Got there and people said, oh man, ain't nobody gonna buy this. And so I went to a HUD auction and got there and I paid, it was 50 units. It was $20,000 a unit. And I won. And then some knucklehead who was at the auction filed a grievance. Oh no, he cheated. Cheated. I don't even know how to cheat a auction, but okay, I cheated. HUD said, oh, we got to do the auction over again. All right, fine. Show up the next time. Knucklehead didn't show up. It's just me and HUD. And so HUD said, what you want to bid? 5 a unit. No, you bid. No, that was then. This is now. I bought that building for $5 grand a unit. And fixed it up, and I sold the entire building for condos. I call it the Walmart condo. They were cheap, they were fast, and they went in the weekend. Every one of them. And so all I'm saying to you is that that's better than flip, because you know what? If I didn't sell a condo, I could rent every one of them out and still get rents every month. You know, the flipping business has gotten popular. But as I said, you do the math. You look at every hour you spent doing that flip, divide it into your profit, you go, dang, I made $20 an hour. Yes, you did. You make no real money. And guess what? On top of that, before you figure out how much you make an hour, you got to pay your partner 40%. And try doing it. Try flipping it and not paying your partner. See what happens. A lot of people get in trouble. Don't do it. Don't. I'm partial. I'll tell you. I don't flip houses. I think it's nonsense. I want to see you build wealth. Okay.
Thank you. Last question. I
Go ahead. The last one.
I did. I was trying to wait until everybody else got it.
All right. Last one. Go ahead.
As far as mentors, I have mentors in different areas of my life, obviously.
What?
Mentors.
Mentors, yeah.
Spiritually, and then, of course, in the career that I'm in now. When you're looking at starting a business, how do you reach out, if you don't have a knowledge of mentors in that area, how would you reach out and kind of find a mentor to help you when you are in those areas where you're just not educated? Or
Well, you know, one of the things, there is almost a trade group in everything that's done in America. Find the trade group and go to that trade group and tell people, I'm looking for a mentor to help me start my business. The U.S. Small Business Association has a mentoring program. I think it's a disaster personally, because what happens, you get these old dudes sitting in there who were in business. They've never run anything successful. They just lived long enough to retire, and they're going to teach you how to run a business. They've never been on the front line. They've never made a payroll in their life. They never know what to do when you ain't got no money and payroll's due tomorrow. Well, you know, you might be able to get a loan. No, you can't get a loan. You ain't got no revenue. Where you can get a loan from? So I'm partial once again. I don't think they're necessarily qualified. So go to a trade association and find somebody in there and ask them to be your mentor. People are very, very open to that. Extremely open. They want to help, you know, they're going, and especially when they're getting older, they're out of the game, and they want to help somebody else survive and do well in the game.
Hi, thank you.
Sure.
I'm currently enrolled in a program called Toastmasters International.
What is it called?
Toastmasters International.
Toastmasters. Yeah, I'm familiar with Toastmasters.
Here in Greenville. I'm also involved in a program called Village Launch. And what Village Launch.
Village Launch, yeah.
And what they do is they assist you in taking an idea and turning it into a business. Mm-hmm. So my thing is I have at least 6 different business types I want to get into as of this year. I've worked with several different entities here in South Carolina: Small Business Administration, Clips Small Business Development Center. I've also worked with SCORE, which is a lot of old men that don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to see, like, investors and what would be the best avenue to go down, because I am going to have a thriving business come the end of this year. Go whichever way I have to go, that's where I'm going.
Well, you know, let me tell you something. You married? Mm-hmm. Okay. How'd you pick your husband? All these dudes out here chasing you, how you pick him?
He dated me. He pursued me for 4 years.
He pursues you?
Yes.
Okay, I can promise your business ain't gonna pursue you. You know, it's like anything else. It's like dating. You know, you gotta look at the attributes of all the companies that you think you're gonna start, and pick the one that you know you can go long on. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, once you do that, if you take the principles I have here and just write them on a piece of paper, and have them succinct, and have a pitch to somebody that might be interested in business. Approach your accountant who knows investors. They're looking at their balance, their accounting, their tax returns. Go to the bank the banks may be a little squeamish about recommending somebody to you, and go to places like that where other business people are doing business that you do. One of my most fertile grounds is my accounting firm, but more importantly, I go to these. They're not Toastmasters, but they're similar. Of folk that are in different cycles of a business. Some have sold out and they made a ton of money. At the end of the day, they got to invest the money somewhere. May as well be with me because they've had experience, they've done it before. The question that you always try to look at when someone's asking you to invest with them is a thing that's called round tripping. Have you round tripped before? And what that means is, have you taken somebody's money, invested it, run the business, made money, and returned them their money? Have you ever done that before? Now, it's about a 50-50 shot if somebody's going to ask you if you've done a round trip before. But if you do real estate, that's going to be top of mind because you're telling them, I know how to do this. I can handle this. I've round tripped before. You say, no, I haven't round tripped, but I work with somebody who did. At least you've seen the picture, okay? And so what I would do is, I have not used it. I know people who have used things like crowdfunding, and they're fascinating that, you can get 1,000 people that gives you $5 a piece, and you got $5,000 online, and if not more. I mean, I've seen people raise millions of dollars that way. That's a way, and it supposes that you, as the operator, are a little bit more sophisticated, because now you've got investors out there, and you've got to remember to keep them informed and constantly communicate with them. But I think what you're looking for and what's ideal is an investor who's also a mentor, because they're not only helping you, they're protecting their money. And you usually can find an accounting firm, sort of the franchise type accounting firms is not what I'm describing to you. I'm talking about the sort of the solo practitioner who sees a lot of income statements, and they said, you know what, Joe just sold their company. They got to find somewhere to put it, and you'd be great for them. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else?
Actually, now I had three questions, but I can't remember what the third one was, so I'll just limit to the two questions.
Okay, cool.
Both of them are job related. Now, I'm trying to start my own. I'm pretty much in the middle of doing my own business, but I work a job.
You have what?
I work a job.
Okay.
Okay. So, first question, is it a mistake to turn down promotion at your job if you think that promotion might take away from you doing what you need to do for your business?
Well, now, I don't know if I would call it a mistake. I would ask you, do you believe in your product and yourself? And if you do, you may be willing to walk away from that because this is going to be bigger. And so if you can't do that, then I don't know if you're ready to be an entrepreneur. See, because to be a successful entrepreneur, you're gonna have to leave it. You're gonna have to put it all on the floor. You got to give it all. I remember this young man. I was my oldest daughter went to Spelman, and I went down to Atlanta to have dinner with her, and she invited her friend, and he says, "I want to be an entrepreneur." Okay. And I said, "Why do you want to be an entrepreneur?" He said, "Because I don't have to work on Saturdays." Really? Is that what you think? Okay. He's not an entrepreneur today. But my point is, you got to be able to be prepared to leave it all on the floor. Saturday, if you got to get in here for the 7:30 service and be home by 9 to keep working, okay. But the most important thing is you got to be able to leave it on the floor. If you're married, you got to make sure that that person understands the game plan. Because how are they to understand the game plan if you don't tell them that, baby, I got to make a sacrifice here for us to be there? And that might mean that maybe we don't take a vacation this year, or maybe we take a local vacation. But I'm doing this for us. And so People crack me up when they're like, man, I want to be an entrepreneur, but this is the year I get my big bonus. Okay, get it. And what's going to be the excuse next year? Well, that's when I get my promotion. Okay, and then the year after that. And see, the thing about it is, you got to go for it. I suggest to people, you can go for it whenever you want to. Go for it when your family don't need you the most. I knew I could start a business. I could miss some income before my kids got to grade school. When they were in grade school, the party's on. I couldn't do that anymore. So I either had to make it happen, get it out of my system. And the younger you start, if it don't work, you can always get a job.
Now, some of this is actually leading into my second question, which is, okay, at what point do you know I need to, okay, I'm ready to stop doing this and do my thing full time?
Well,
Granted, granted, even when I'm working, I'm still doing my thing full time, but to where my thing is my only thing.
What happens is, people crack me up when they're like, man, I'm going to quit this job because the man ain't paying me enough money. Okay. Do your own thing if you don't think he's paying you enough money. And I'm serious about that. If they ain't paying you enough, go do your own thing. Quit. Now, you may have to, and you got to get ready. You just can't quit tomorrow. You may have to do some prep work. No, you have to do some prep work. Prep work, number one. When I started my most recent company, I lived in an apartment. I got rid of my car, got an old car, paid off all my credit card bills, because I didn't know if I was going to have any money. And I didn't need the strain of that taking me away from the focus of this. My focus is right here, because it's a temporary condition. Because I got a cousin, Lewis. We got a cousin, called me about starting a business, but told me, man, I love my BMW. Okay. I got 3 more years of paying on it. You ain't ready. Either sell the car, downsize, manage your expenses, and go for it. But you can't be whining to me about that car and wanting to travel over there and want to start a business. No, the last thing he told me he was going to get some other people to put money in his business because he didn't want to take the money out of his 401k. Are you crazy? You want to bet my money but not your money? Are you crazy? So, you got to make the decision, and it's a serious decision, that you're going for it because you believe in you. You believe in you. Every single successful entrepreneur, people doubted them, and they believed in themselves. When I decided I was working at a bank, and I had a big position, and I said, I'm out of here. I ain't going to do this anymore. And I went in and told the chairman of the bank, 45 days, dude. Figured to give him a little time to find somebody. I'm out of here. You know what he told me? He was pissed that I was leaving, and we ain't never going to do business with you. I ain't going into business to do business with you either. 30 days after I was in business, he called me and said, we want to do some business with you. So if I had listened to his nonsense, I'd still been there working. And let me tell you something. I don't care what you make. And I tell my child this every day. Okay, you're a big-time partner now. You make a lot of money. But if they can pay you that, what you think they making? You just got pimped. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. If they can pay you that amount of money, because they ain't paying you everything that's coming in the door that you made. And then the next year, you're going to fight with them about getting a little bit of increase. Well, will you give me a little bit more? No. Go out and do it yourself. It's amazing to me. You know the worst thing ever happened to black folk? And this is going to sound contradictory. Education. Because when my grandfathers didn't have an education, they became entrepreneurs by themselves. They had no other choice. They couldn't go over there and get a job. They became entrepreneurs. Now, my dad went to law school and, the whole bit, but he worked for himself. And so now we got these kids with these fancy degrees. I'm going to go downtown, see if the man to hire me. What? You've got more education than all of my grandparents combined, and you want to work for somebody else. I am not a good employee. I'm not. I mean, I say what I, a buddy of mine, we were in a long meeting at the bank one day. I reported to the chairman. He's sitting there. And it was the night before the chairman and I had dinner. And this man looks at me straight face and says, "You think I'm a good chairman?" My daddy used to say, "To thy own self be true." And my dad is over here saying, "Tell him the truth." And I'm over here, lie to him. Keep your job, lie to him. I said, "I don't think you're a good chairman." He put his wine glass down and said, "What?" I said, "Here's why you're not a good chairman." I thought he was going to cry. I knew then I had 6 months. He's going to figure out a way to fire me. And you know what? I need to get ahead of this curve. And I did. 2 months later, I'm out of here, dude. Because I know you're going to fire me for telling you you're not a good chairman. But that's cool. I mean, I was okay. It was the best thing ever happened to me. So you got to decide, man. It's all about you. It ain't about them. Because you're going to get the next bonus, the next promotion, the next bonus, next promotion. Next thing you know, you can't leave. Because you need that cash flow to support this lifestyle.
So I only have one question.
Shannon, you can ask me as many questions you want.
And I am trying to start my own business on selling art that I make and
Selling what?
selling art that I make.
Art? Value make? What'd you say? I couldn't hear.
Selling art that I make. Like that.
Oh, that you make. You the artist. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
And I'm trying to start by a website, and I'm trying to figure out like where do I start and what can I control at like this age, because I can't like drive anywhere or
Can't
get
start
a
what?
job. So I don't know like where to start or what I can control at 13.
Well, here's the thing is, we all have networks that we don't maximize. For whatever crazy reason, we don't maximize it. So you talking about starting a website. Your cousin Karen builds websites. Now, how much you think she's going to charge you? Nothing. And if you need somebody to negotiate for you, call me. Have her build your website. And then what you got to do, there's a thing in marketing called pushing and pulling. And you've got to push your product out. And the way you do that is you can buy mailing list, email list. You may have to have an initial investment for mama and daddy because the mailing list is not very much, a couple $100. But I know you got that, but I know you don't want to use it. But you buy a mailing list and you push your product out there. And part of it is selling you as an up-and-coming artist. There's no age limit on an up-and-coming artist. You are. There's a guy who I was in business school while he was in law school. His name is Lawrence Graham. And Lawrence wrote a bunch of books before he even went to law school. And the books was how to get into law school, how to get into business school, how to get into medical school. And we were riding around with that. I said, Lawrence, you ain't never been to medical school? But you writing a book, selling it on how to get. He said, man, it's all about the marketing. I tell you who I am. And it was like Lawrence Graham, an expert on telling you how to you and get your child into graduate school. What? You just got into one. It don't matter. You tell them you're an up-and-coming artist. Put your picture up there. You better you better buy this art from me right now, cheap. Because in a minute, I'm going up. There's a group in South Florida. It's a Haitian group. And I support them. And one of the things they do is every fundraising year, they bring out their young artists. And every year I buy multiple pieces from them. And the reason I do it, the art's good. I like it. But art's always personal. It ain't what you like, it's what I like. And you push it out there. And every day you come home from school, you're pushing it out there more and more and more. And all of a sudden, somebody's going to bing you back. How much do you want for that piece? Or you can put it out there and don't even put your face on it. It's the beauty of the internet. Young, up-and-coming, hot artists out of Greenville, South Carolina. There's a huge art colony down near Beaufort, South Carolina. And one of the guys is Green, I forget his first name. I bought a lot of art from him. So you're onto something. And when you become rich and famous, I want my fee. All right? All right, last question.
Hey, what is the best way for me to reach out to successful realtors and brokers? Recently, back in January, I started
Successful real estate?
real estate agents and brokers. I recently started doing marketing for them back in January. So I want to reach out to them and see if I can do their marketing services.
Okay. They have a mailing list too. Every broker in this city, every broker in this state's got to be licensed. And those people that are licensed, it's a matter of public record. And you just go to the Secretary of State, put in real estate brokers, and they'll spit out everybody that's got a license. And then you do your thing, pushing out, once again, what you get, what's your value proposition? What can you do for me? Show me that your marketing process will allow me to increase my business. You got to show me. Because most of them either are under a corporate umbrella and who does the marketing for them, that's part of the fee, or they do it themselves, but you got to show them, I can help you do it and I can improve your business. Okay? All right. Absolute last question, and I'm out of here. Okay, go.
I have a comment. Something you said earlier about employees treating your employees good.
Yep.
And I found that out to be true because my dad taught me how to do income taxes in his house. And I was the employee. He taught me, and back then, back in the 70s and 80s, we used to write taxes out on paper. We didn't have the computers. We used to write it out. And back in 89, this thing came out to be rapid refund.
Oh, yeah.
H&R Block. And everybody was writing out tax returns. But I was the employee. So my dad said, what are we going to do? Because we were going out of business, like you said.
Yep.
Well, I knew something about a computer, so I contacted a company and got hooked up with Rapid Refund,
Okay.
where we were in business.
Yep.
My daddy didn't know how to turn on a computer, so he didn't know how to do nothing.
Hey.
So I ran the business the whole time. He sat in the office, did nothing, and collected all the money.
Yeah.
So once I started my own business in taxes, I thought about that. I was making the business grow when I was with my dad, because without me, it would have been gone. And when I started my own business, I hired this lady. She worked with me 7, 8 years. Before I sold the business, I was sick. But I treated her very nice.
Yep.
And she ran the business as if it was her business.
There you go.
And it worked.
That's right.
She was so good. Instead of, when I opened up at 9, I'd be in the bed at 9, and she opened up for me.
Right.
And she did all the work. She got so good that people used to come in and say, Gene, you're going to do my taxes. After about 3 years, they wouldn't even look at me. I mean, she did all the taxes,
Right.
all
Right.
of them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it makes sense to treat them right, because they will help your business to grow.
That's right.
And it wasn't for her, and I ended up selling the business to her.
Oh, wow.
And now I go help her sometime. I'm the employee.
There you go.
So, you're right. You got to treat them right.
Got to treat them right. Thanks, Jane. Pastor. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Come on, let's stand. Come on, let's give Chauncey a hand. Wasn't that a wonderful time this morning? And I pray. I don't want to. You've been standing up here for a long time, so
okay.
Y'all have a great time. Was that a good? Y'all learned a lot.
Good.
It is. It was a great, worthy investment of your time, and so this afternoon at 2:00, the high school and college kids will be here. I'll be speaking to them, and tomorrow morning at 10, he'll be speaking. All I'm gonna tell you is you just won't believe it. I will simply say that you won't believe it. So it can be a wonderful time. Amen. So I know it's been a long time. Y'all been great.
Thank you.
And y'all can certainly shake hands with Chauncey on the way out. We'll pray and dismiss. And if there's any refreshments at the end, you can partake of those as we're on the way out. Okay? Is that good? Thank y'all so much again. Father, in Jesus' name, thank you for this wonderful time. Thank you for this time of learning and sharing and insight and information and just knowledge. And we thank you as we leave this place. Right now we have traveling mercy and grace until we gather again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
God bless y'all. Thank y'all.